Welcome to our session. It's a real privilege to be in front of you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our story because I think it's highly relatable to all of you practitioners in the audience. I'm Sasha, this is Josh, my co-founder, and we're going to be talking about AI and our own very personal journey with it. I think it probably reflects the story that many of you are taking today. So, Ternary is a labor of love. The Ternary story is that we were in your shoes. We were practitioners ourselves, operating at a particular scale. In GCP, we had multi-$100 million commit to them way back when, and we overspent it. And this was before the FinOps Foundation existed. And so we were discovering FinOps as everyone else was. We were traveling around the globe, talking to other teams operating at scale, trying to figure out what we should do and what we should not do, given all the experiences that other people had. And we arrived at the same thing that you all have, that the FinOps Foundation has, which is that you need this culture of collaboration between finance and engineering and procurement. You need to present the data in the way that they need to see it to have them collaborate. This is from a presentation that we did back in 2020 with JR before the FinOps Foundation was formally founded. And it was a lot of fun. We were all discovering it together. And so we can relate to the pain that you all have. And now we want to talk about AI. So first, we kind of want to gauge the audience and see where you are all in your journeys. So who is still in the skeptical phase, just by show of hands? Like, you've heard about it, you think it might not be useful for your organization, for your own productivity or your products. Sounds like almost nobody. No. Yeah. Who's in the interested phase? Like, you want to learn more about it? Okay, we've got just a few hands. Who's in the R&D phase building right now?
Okay, most.
Okay, all right. And then finally, who's actually in production?
Wow.
That's impressive. Okay. I thought everyone was going to be in R&D and maybe fewer people in production. So let's continue. So we have thought about AI in different ways. There is the sort of obvious thing, which is how can we leverage it for our own internal productivity, not just for our product. And I've come around probably in the last year or so on this as I experimented with it in my personal life, at work, using all the different models. And it became very obvious that AI, at least in the form of LLMs, are kind of ready for prime time. And so we made a formal request of our team members to pick a tool and then make use of it in their own roles. And we've seen, about a 20% productivity boost. It's not entirely scientific, 20%, but we've seen a significant boost in our own team members leveraging AI tooling for their own productivity, whether it's Cursor or some other tool. Then we've thought about it in terms of creating value for our own customers. And there, we were already doing, if you count machine learning as AI, we were already doing that for a while, even at LiveRamp. And then within Ternary, we've began to use it for our products as well. And then finally, there's the obvious thing, which is ingesting GPU spend, keeping track of phases and their efficiency that we're heading into now. So let's deep dive on the AI journey. I'm going to turn it over to Josh.
Thanks, Sasha. Yeah, so I want to share with you today kind of a personal story of how Ternary kind of experienced the AI wave and how we interpreted it at the beginning and how we had that moment that Sasha talked about where we sort of started adopting it for everyday tasks and then came up with a hypothesis for how to adopt it in our product, how to make it available to people who use our product. So first, yeah, I am surprised that there were so few skeptics, but I was a skeptic for a long time. I had heard the news about ChatGPT. I heard the news about the sort of human intelligence type tests that the models were being tested against, and I was like, I don't know if this stuff works for us, right? I kind of felt like LLMs were just a hype train. It was mainly being used to raise VC funds, and yeah, there were some uses, but the hype would die down eventually. So if someone could come up with an AI-powered doorstep, I'm sure that happened sometime in the past 2 years. I think LLMs, we thought LLMs would not be appropriate for FinOps, right? We have very specific data. We're a FinOps platform. We knew that LLMs could kind of reform and regurgitate, maybe is the wrong word, but something like that, like information that it had been exposed to. We were very worried that for our particular case, right, that LLMs wouldn't be able to give you specific suggestions to help you take action, which of course, as we all know, is one of the things that we need to do in FinOps is create concrete action. So we worried that, yeah, you can ingest FinOps textbook into an LLM, but it wouldn't be able to help you say, okay, go into this account and do that thing. And lastly, again, as a FinOps platform, we're using time series data a lot, okay? And that kind of means that like the sort of, text comprehension, summarization, all of these kind of, bread and butter use cases of AI that we hear about all the time may not be as relevant to Ternary. This was our belief, in our skeptic phase, right? And here's a little screenshot of when I was experimenting with LLMs and our time series data. We used Gemini, and we asked it to analyze an excerpt of our data that we'd exported from our platform as CSV, and then as a prototype, feed it back into Gemini and say, okay, like what can you do with this? What can you tell me about it? And it said it would do something cool, and then it said, I'm just a language model, so I can't help you with that. So there was some doubt. But ultimately, maybe like a year after that, a lot of our customers, a lot of our prospects, a lot of our investors started to inquire like, hey, like what's Ternary's AI strategy? How is Ternary going to incorporate AI to move faster and make a better product, right? So we had to kind of start an initial hypothesis of like what we were gonna do and share it with those people. So like Sasha said, we started adopting AI tooling in our internal workflows. And I think this kind of gave us like an easy way to understand the things it was good at and not good at, right? And even though that, of course, the development case is not what we're developing for as a FinOps platform, we saw the potential. We saw what toil and common problems we reached every day as engineers and product managers, and we're able to say, okay, like, this got a lot easier with Cursor. So yeah, we have about 20% productivity gain in our engineering team from using Cursor to automate unit tests. We're investigating like review, automated first pass review of code pull requests, sorry. And we're also investigating like AI-based like testing where you don't really need to tell it exactly what buttons to click, exactly what captions, what text to look for. You can just give it a more generic script and have it like run through your application for testing. We also sort of like in that time, we started to learn the importance of context. And I'm sure a lot of you know this, but it's good to repeat all the time, is that LLMs are nothing without context. The quality of a LLM use case is the quality of the context you put into it. So this is an example here of where we gave a lot of our product context, like how we implemented a particular reporting feature in our product, and we told the LLM about it. We told it about all the terminology we used, and then actually said, okay, like now, please go take a prompt of what data a user wants to see in our app and translate that into a query that works in our reporting system. So even giving it instructions for like what to do when the user asks for filtering and certain edge cases that we expect to happen. And actually a longer version of this prompt was able to, without further training, just generate JSON payloads, so to speak, to insert into our reporting builder so that we basically enabled free-form text-based querying of our data with like one prompt. Again, longer than this, but you get the general idea. So we began to understand the power of how LLMs could be applied in our platform once we understood how to build context like this. And lastly, like, when we were trying to figure out, again, how to adopt, we realized that LLMs had just become sort of a restatement of the API movement. So I don't know, how long all of you have been in technology overall, but there was maybe about 5-10 years ago, there was a wave of saying, hey, take everything your product does and make it an API. Well, now LLMs are just like the gateway for the API, right? Instead of making a curl to a particular endpoint, you're instead like asking an LLM. It's going to interpret it and still, route you to the right code to execute your request. So isn't that just an API? So I think when we made this realization, we started to understand, okay, it's just a different way of asking a product, interacting with a product, asking it to do things programmatically. So this is how we started to formulate our AI strategy within Ternary after we understood all of these kind of insights about how best to use them, how best to leverage them. So looking ahead, where does the future take us in terms of adoption, right? You can see that we're still sort of in the research phase. We're not fully in the production phase, but agents are really interesting to us, and MCP or agent to agent, depending on which framework you adopt. Having the LLMs be able to take action for you and connect to other tools and connect to other systems to get things done for you. This is very interesting for us. So we'll be implementing features, or basically the features in our product that people use via a web browser. We'll be systematically going and like turning those into tool integrations within LLMs, so that pretty much you can start to use all the features and access all your data through an agentic integration. LLM big data analysis is really interesting. So we use BigQuery under our hood, and there's a lot of new features coming into BigQuery for us that help us do like fuzzy analysis on data. So we can make a SQL query and then say like, show me rows that are like this, or like look at these 3 different columns and tell us like which ones kind of meet the prompt, right? So kind of a fuzzy filtering. I think that's really powerful because a lot of times with our big FinOps data sets, we don't know exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for something that's similar to something, but we don't have an exact string to match against. And so that'll be very powerful. And lastly, we're not going to forget about machine learning, because before the LLM wave, right, a lot of work into deep learning was ongoing. All of that research and labor is still useful. We're going to keep enhancing our ML models, which we use for anomaly detection and forecasting, and stick with them, right? They can work with the LLMs. They're different things. A lot of people we talk to are like, well, are you really using AI if you're only using machine learning? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. It's part of the same toolkit. And the deep learning, obviously, the deep learning that is used by LLMs is the same technique that is used in traditional machine learning. So just to recap, I'm going to do a little bit of like a true or false, fact or fiction here. I'm going to make some quotes, and there we go. Skepticism is a natural and healthy reaction to new technologies that claim to have a wide reach and apply to anything. Is that fact or fiction? Yell it out. Fact, yes. Of course, like it's okay to be a beginner in something, and you have to find the way that works for you to make it work to your needs. Since it's hot and everyone wants it, let's go all into AI right away and ditch our old roadmap. Turn our product into a chatbot. We're going to succeed wildly if we do this.
Are you in production? Or?
Developing your AI strategy can include more than just creating customer-facing features. Improving team productivity for pennies on the dollar is a huge win. Yeah. And last but not least, Cursor is $20 a month, and that means all AI is this cheap. All right, and then with that, I'll hand it back to Sasha.
All right, thanks. So this is a very sophisticated audience. Most of you are either in R&D or production, so I suspect we're all learning this together. But what we have come to understand through our own journey, from the productivity tools as well as building it for our product, is AI is just another very interesting technology, a foundational technology out, but the approach to it, at least for our companies, for a vendor or a practitioner, is very similar to everything else that we've done in the past, which is get visibility, and this should all sound very familiar to you, right? And then break it into phases so that you can begin to measure each part of it. Tie the spend to outcomes. And then just close the loop, and if that sounds familiar, it's the FinOps framework, essentially, right? So this is no different than anything else that we've all learned together. This is a practitioner-led foundation, and so we want to encourage everyone to participate. And here's a terrific way for all of you to participate. If you don't know about it, you can join the working group. You can follow the working group. Let's leave this up for just a moment for the folks taking pictures, but we would encourage that. We are happy to participate as well and contribute in all the different ways, and I encourage all of you to do so as well. And actually, on that note, I wanted to mention that I think I was one of the first practitioners certified back at the TBM conference in maybe 2020 or 2019. I think it was the first session that the FinOps Foundation held, and I didn't know anything about it. I showed up at the conference, and I was amazed at the linearity between what we had been experiencing at LiveRamp as practitioners and what was being presented. And I think I took the exam, and I think I must have been in the first dozen or two practitioners. So I'm very proud, and I feel good being on stage in front of you, because Ternary is a labor of love for us. We built it for you.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps X 2025 content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.